Skillfully including quotations is one of the fastest and easiest ways to improve your academic writing. It's going to make your paper more interesting for your intelligent but impatient and bored reader, and it's going to improve your credibility by showing that you know the foundational knowledge and current thinking on your subject. It's only going to take 3 easy skills. First, a poor example. Now, when you see this example, you might be tempted to think that there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, it might look like what you've always done. In a similar vein, you can see the bridge here, but once you learn these 3 skills, the fog should lift and you'll be able to clearly see the quality of your quotations. Here we go. Award-winning author Thomas Gray stated, "A well-chosen verb makes all the difference in good writing. This is a good point to consider for a writer." Number 1, redundant. Makes all the difference in good writing is pretty much the same as this is a good point to consider for a writer. Redundancy helps your word count, but it wastes your reader's time and makes you look like you don't know what you're talking about. Don't do that. Number 2, it's clunky. If you close your eyes, you can hear exactly when the writer's words stop and the quotation begins. If you can hear the start or the end, revise. Otherwise, you'll find a perfectly good quote and then trash it. Here's a better example. Award-winning author Thomas Gray reminds writers to consider a well-chosen verb because this makes all the difference in good writing. Concise, smooth, and honestly, next to the poor example, this is much nicer. This is the experience we want to give our reader. To make this happen, you're going to need 3 skills. Number 1, select the relevant text in your source. Number 2, cut the quotation to clarify what's most important. Number 3, weave what's left smoothly into your own work. The first 2 skills help to add value to what it is you're trying to communicate, and if you're not adding value, no one cares how well it's written. No one is out there saying, "Man, this text is worthless, but it's so well written, I just have to keep reading." The quotations you select need to add value to your message. If they don't, you're wasting everyone's time, especially your own. Add value by selecting the most pertinent wisdom of those who've come before you. Then, cut it down to clarify what exactly is the most important part for your message. Now, it could be a word or a phrase or a sentence, or in some cases, even an entire paragraph. But for most student writers in most papers, stick with words and phrases. The third step is about not tripping your readers. Keep your quotations smooth so your readers can glide from one sentence to the next. Weaving it smoothly depends a lot on the verb you use. Compare the poor example with the good example. As you write, stay away from generic verbs like says, states, talks about, and all their possible iterations. When choosing verbs, it's not about being creative. It's about being precise. And that's it. Let's check out some professional examples. But the most important stimulus to the development of the social virtues was the fact that people are passionately concerned with the praise and blame of our fellow men. Classic format: your words plus quotation plus your words plus quotation. In a talk he gave in 2004 while president of Harvard, Summers cited Moneyball as illustrative of an important intellectual revolution that has taken place in the last 30 or 40 years, the rise of social science and especially economics as an actual form of science. He explained how a very wise baseball general manager hired a PhD in econometrics to figure out what baseball skills and strategies made for a winning team. Same basic format, but here Sandel manages to work in the author's name, and in the second sentence, Sandel ends with his own words rather than the quotation. The Times, in a welcome but highly uncharacteristic embrace of anarchy, celebrated this development as an ingenious guerrilla tactic in youth's eternal war against adult authority, a bit of techno-jujitsu, as the paper put it. Here, Menand sets up the quotation with the dash, most likely as a way to maintain the personality of the quotation. Grether and Plot acknowledge that this hypothesis is the least satisfactory from the point of view of standard preference theory because it allows individual choice to depend on the context in which the choices are made, a clear violation of the coherence doctrine. Here, the dash helps Kahneman end the sentence with his own words instead of the quotation. The governor and council suppressed it, complaining that Harris had printed reflections of a very high nature, by which they meant that they had no intention of admitting any impediments to whatever villainy they wished to pursue. Same format. Simple, smooth, and that's it. Select the relevant text, cut to clarify, and weave it into your writing.